one step in the right direction is worth 1,000 years of thinking about it.
Ooh. And now.
Aye, aye. I'm the captain now.
Coming to you from the K2 Studios in San Diego, California.
This sounds great. You sound amazing.
I always sound amazing.
It's the world famous
Everybody's hitting off like BFFs.
Kris and Kristine Show.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? How are you doing today? Thank you so much for listening, and I am Kris.
And I'm Kristine, and welcome to episode 105 of the Kris and Kristine Show. Do-do-do-do.
Yes, 105 is like one of my favorite numbers.
Is it? You say that every time.
I think I do say it every time, but
But why would 105 be your favorite?
it sounds cool.
Right?
105.
Really?
05. 105. I don't know. It sounds pretty cool.
I mean, 007 would sound really good. I don't know about 105. 105 sounds like kind of like an old man.
What are you trying to say?
105.
Ah.
Anyway, so how are you doing, Kris? It feels like I haven't seen you. I know I've been living here in the same house as you, but we've been so busy lately. So how are things?
Well, I had to go back to work this week. I've been on vacation the week prior. So Vacation Kris was in the house. Now Vacation Kris is no more.
Well, actually, Vacation Kris is going to be coming back after this coming week. You're on vacation again.
You know what's funny? I was telling some of the guys at work about that, how I was just on vacation. How was vacation? It was great. Just basically moved stuff around the house and started working around the house. Like, I didn't physically actually go anywhere.
Wait, you did not work around the house.
Yes, I
Let's
did.
be clear. You got your computer set up.
That's work.
And you said, I'm going to get this whole garage organized.
Oh,
Did you unpack a single box?
A couple
Negative.
things. I think I did a few
Negative.
things. So
Nope.
I did work and getting the TV set up and the computer room set up and this whole podcasting room set up. And Kristine happens to be sitting on right now.
Ezekiel's brand new bed, which is a queen size futon
It is a
couch.
fancy futon, not a regular futon. It's like the fancy high dollar premium oak something
Yeah,
wood.
it's Amish made here in the United States, and it's really sturdy. And we decided that, we splurged on new furniture for the other two boys, and we needed to make sure that we also got a really nice bed for Ezekiel. But, he's almost 17, and he is, getting bigger and taller, and he had a little full-size bed in the old house. And so we wanted him to have something that could be like a cool teenager hangout, where it could be like a couch in case he has friends over, but then, converts into a bed easily and just keeps, conserving space in the room, right?
It is wonderful, and it's bigger than I thought it would be. It's pretty good size. It's like a big giant couch.
It's not big, giant. It's
In
like
this
6
room
feet
here,
long.
and Kristine's on the couch. So Kristine's on the couch. So if you want to be a guest, you can have a guest sit on this side of the couch. You guys can do like a podcasting from the couch. How
We
about that?
could. It would be like couch coffee talk.
There you go.
Did you ever watch
Fantastic.
Saturday Night Live when they did coffee talk?
No, that's from New York.
No, that's the ladies on there. They were like, it's coffee talk time.
Ooh.
I don't know. It was so funny. But
So-
anyways, we can have our coffee talk couch.
Yeah, maybe drink coffee here. I've done that a few times. So we, let's see, this week I went back to work, obviously. So that was rough. But I did tell the guys at work I'm going on vacation again. And they were like, what? How many vacations you got a year? I think I'm taking, I kid you not, this year it's going to be like the most vacations I've ever taken in my entire life.
Is it 5 weeks?
I think I'm taking like 7 or 8 if you add it all up.
What? That's crazy.
I know, maybe 7 weeks. I don't know. I was telling somebody, I was like, the last time I took this much vacation was like, I was unemployed.
Well, the perks of having a full-time job. So how was it being back at work?
It's always rough when you go back to work. I mean,
But you're not training your new guy. So did you actually get to
You know-
listen to your podcasts?
Of course I did. But also, speaking on the new guy, I run into him my first day back to work. I said,
Uh-huh.
hey, how's it going? How you doing? You all on your own? Everything go fine? Please don't tell me you screwed up. Please tell me you didn't screw up. Because that'd be like, reflect on me.
Yeah.
Because I trained him. He had one screw up.
Oh, no.
The trucks do have drive cam systems
Yeah.
in the truck, and they record your mistakes if it hits a bump or triggers it in a shock pattern.
Mhm.
Like it hit the brakes too hard or something like that. It'll kind of jiggle it and make it go off, and you can record. He said he did have a clip that got recorded. He said it was a situation where a light or something happened too fast and he slammed the brakes and
Oh.
it triggered the camera. But
Well, I think it's kind of difficult because you're trying to be super cautious because basically you are driving a big tanker full of gasoline. And it's like, you don't want to run a light. And so if it switches quickly and you're not going super, super slow, you're going to have to like pump on the brakes. And that's just difficult. It's like, be an absolutely perfect driver without slamming on the brakes even once. I would fail that like first 10 seconds.
Well, that's why you're not me, baby.
You're right. I am not you. That you are one of a kind.
Thank you. So how has your week been? I know you've been doing busy bee with the weddings and stuff.
I have been. So my regular full-time job was in high gear this past week. I was put as project lead on a really big project with a multi-million-dollar grant. It was very last minute that we found out.
So they gave you $1 million.
$2.4 million to figure out how to appropriately budget. And so I had to meet with all the teams and develop priorities and multi-year projection of 5 years. And it was a lot to do and a lot of late nights. So there were nights when I was, up early, starting work at 7:30. And then, I'd work straight through. I forgot to eat lunch most days. And then I'd take a quick break for dinner. And then I'd get back to the computer and working until 1 or 2 in the morning a couple of nights to be able to get this done because it was a really short notice from the State Department of Ed. And that meant that we had to have a really quick turnaround. But then I had yesterday a really big event, one that I've really been looking forward to. I mean, I look forward to all of mine, but this one, it was for a friend that actually we became friends through our wedding back in last November because they own the company where we rented our farm tables from.
Oh, right. That stuff looked nice, by the way.
It was beautiful. And they hand make all of this furniture. It's so gorgeous. It's farm and field events here in San Diego County. And the couple, Aaron and Kris, were renewing their wedding vows because they never had like a full wedding ceremony. They had a civil ceremony before when they got married back in, I think like 2015, 16. And so they wanted to have a full wedding and they have this beautiful property up in the hills. And oh gosh, it was so gorgeous. And it was lots of late nights prepping for it, but it was a labor of love because I worked really tirelessly alongside the couple. They put in so much work yesterday and it was spectacular. It was like, they had a beautiful ceremony out in an open field that they own with a huge arch and these beautiful wooden benches that they created right before sunset. And then we'd set up like a 40-foot long, single, super long table. And they hung these really beautiful woven chandeliers and string lights. And then they're not big dancers. And so instead of having dancing, they hired a live band. It's called Cashed Out. It's a Johnny Cash kind of.
Cashed Out?
Cashed like Johnny Cash. So it's Cashed, C-A-S-H-D, Out, Cashed Out Band.
Oh, nice.
And they are Johnny Cash style. And they play all of his music. And it was all live. So they have a bassist. They had a guitarist with the keyboard, a drummer, male lead singer who looked very similar to Johnny Cash, and then they had a female singer.
You got to do that. You got to make it look like it, right?
Yeah, and they had like a full sound team, and they had like their manager and their photographer, their merch people. There was like, 15 people there, but Kris and Aaron, the couple that got married, because they own this rental company with all of this great stuff, they had this amazing lounge set up outdoors under these market lights with fire pits and s'mores. And I mean,
you had me at s'mores, by the way.
But I will tell you, it was so lovely. They just had like their family and friends, and it was such a cool vibe out there, just out under the stars. And it was so beautiful. And I felt so lucky to be able to be part of it because, they work in the wedding business and they're a pretty big deal down here in the San Diego wedding scene. And they picked me to be their coordinator and their florist.
Well, look at you, hot stuff.
I know. And I just felt so honored. I feel like I get the best job. I mean, my full-time job, I love it. I do a really good job at it. And then my side hustle, it's like I get to be part of people's love stories, like the best day of their lives. I get to be there and witness it and make it come to fruition. Like, who wouldn't want that job?
That sounds wonderful. You are living the high life, babe. And by the way, I'm so proud of you. I'm very proud of you.
I really appreciate that. And that means the world to me because I try to not have an impact on our family life here, but I know I'm gone a couple Saturdays here and there. But I really do love putting my heart and soul into these types of things because it's just truly special. And I love sharing the photos with you afterwards, and I appreciate your support.
And I also love all the excitement everybody has when they see your work and they post it all over social media.
I know.
And they tag you in all the posts and say Kristine Smith Designs did all this. And then yesterday you said you passed out like 10 business cards out to people that were there.
But they approached me. Yeah, I'm never one that's like, oh, take my card. It's people will be like, oh, how do I find you? Like there was so many people taking photos and videos of my work, and they were like, how do we tag you? And so I pulled out my business cards because you had me get these super cute business cards made, which are adorable.
Yes, they are.
And what was so funny, I have to tell you this because it was multiple people did this because on the back side of my card at the top in big print, it says Dr. Kristine Smith. And so people would look at my logo and then they'd flip it over to find my Instagram and they went, Doctor? You're a doctor? And I was like, yes. And they're like, well, what kind? An MD? And I said, no, not that kind of doctor. And then I explain. And they're like, that is amazing. Like you have your doctorate and you do this job. And I was like, yeah, that's how it helps me be so good at it because I can understand like organization and strategy and stuff. Why are you crying right now?
That's so beautiful.
I know. You're such, you know what? If you are such a doll, I love it that you're like, you always tear up when I have successes.
I know. I tear up when I have successes too.
Yeah,
although I haven't had that many in a while.
Well, you've had a lot of successes. Speaking of which, did you cry on our wedding day?
Of course I did, babe.
I don't know. I can't remember. Did you cry?
Every man cries after their wedding day. Yeah. I'm just kidding.
You're such a brat. No, did you cry when I walked down the aisle?
Of course I did, babe. Of course I did. Did you see me crying?
I don't remember.
I was like, it's allergies. Yeah. Allergies outside, allergy season.
Your eyes were sweating.
Yeah, that's what it is. Oh, yep.
No, what made you cry? Because I always want to hear from the guys. Like, why was it that you cried?
You know me. I get very sensitive when it comes to stuff like that. Gosh, I cry in movies for God's sakes. What?
But don't downplay it. Like, what was the feeling behind? Like, what is it for a guy when you see the woman you love walking down the aisle? What is it that like comes to your heart?
I think what it is like, first thing I see you and I'm like, wow, she looks so beautiful. She's all dolled up. This is what she's this is everything she pictured. This is her wedding dress. This is what she looks like. I don't know what you look like prior to anything happening. In fact, I don't think I even talked to you. Did I talk to you?
We talked on the phone.
Oh, maybe we did. Okay. But usually, sometimes you don't. Bride and groom, we'll just keep it completely separate, like 100%.
Yeah.
And then they see him come down. And it's a very like, wow, I'm sitting there nervous and waiting for you to come down. And I see you walking and everyone's like glued on you and your eyes are on you. And you look so beautiful and radiant and you're smiling and you have this look in your eye and it's very sparkly. And you just kind of like float down the aisle and you come to me and then I'm like, yeah, I got it from here. And then I take her from your dad.
Yeah.
And then we stand there and do our thing. And the entire time the pastor's talking, don't hear a word he's saying because I'm looking and I'm focused on you the entire time.
Oh, that is so sweet. And, it seems like it was just yesterday that we got married, but can you believe we're only 2 weeks away from our first anniversary?
No way. Check that out. 1 year already.
I know.
Time flies. You're having fun. Yeah, barely. So...
But, we've come so far and I'm just so excited to see the life that we've already started to build. And, we had a little visitor that wanted to come onto our show who's been missing us, who hasn't been able to be at the new house. And I think that we were going to hear from him, right?
Yeah, I got him on the phone. Here he is, Ezekiel.
And we have a very special guest that dropped by the studio today, none other than Ezekiel. Hey, Zeke, how's it going?
Good.
Gosh, we missed you, buddy.
Yeah.
How long has it been since we've seen you?
For Kris, it sounds like eternity since it sounds like he's going crazy sometimes.
Wait a second. I'm going crazy?
Yeah, but Mom just came down last weekend to come see me play in a tournament.
Oh, what kind of tournament?
Water polo.
Ooh, okay. So tell us about water polo because we talked about you joining the water polo team last week and people are wondering, how's it going for you?
It was a good season. I mean, there was some stuff that was good, some stuff that was bad. I got my first varsity water polo goal.
No way. Seriously?
Really?
against my dad's high school.
What? Your dad's in high school?
He is?
No.
I had no idea.
The high school that he works for, since he works for a school.
Oh, so was he wearing the other jersey for the other team the day you
No,
guys were...
actually, he was wearing a shirt because it's kind of like the uniform.
Oh, got it. But so you scored a goal. Tell us about what that means. Like water
Like, just
polo.
like soccer, you know how you just score a goal? It's like that. But you guys want to hear how it went down?
Sure.
Yes.
So I was driving down to the goal.
Like in
My
a
friend
car?
Joe,
You were driving. What car were you driving?
I was driving a Mustang.
Okay. Okay.
I was driving down to the goal, and then my friend Joey fouled, draw the foul, and then after draw the foul, he passed me the ball, and I just shot it like I was a quarterback.
What?
You shot like a quarterback.
Yeah,
That's
and
amazing.
it just went through. And then I yelled at my dad $50
No way.
because my dad made a joke where he's like, "Yo, you score every goal you score $50, just like that."
Ooh, money in the bank.
There you
Yeah,
go,
but
buddy.
everyone laughed at him, and everybody now calls me Money Man.
Everyone
Money
calls you
Man.
Money Man. That's
You should,
funny.
you should get that in your jersey, back your jersey, Money Man.
Money Man.
You
Zeke.
mean back in my cap?
Oh, I'm sorry. You don't wear jersey, you wear caps. I forgot.
Yeah.
Can we call you Money Man Zeke from now on?
No, you could call me ASAP Rocky
That makes no sense at all, but okay.
because I'm like a rapper. But it was good. It's been also hard on practice sometimes. Our main coach just got fired.
What?
No way.
Is it like the NFL where they like didn't get enough wins, so
He
they
was-
just canned him?
Yeah, I think so.
No, there were some complaints going on, and he didn't fix them.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like losses, maybe?
No, it was like complaints about some problems going wrong.
Oh wow. That sounds
was
like
he,
a lot.
Was he deflating the balls like Tom Brady?
No.
That probably would make it easier to shoot with, huh? If it was a
No,
little
it
deflated?
wouldn't. It probably, if they re-grip the ball, then yeah. But I actually, for the first time, for like our game where we were playing against, I think Clovis East, I worked the flags in the booth.
Oh, what does that
like-
mean? Working the flags?
Like if you get ejected, you got to give out a flag and telling them, "All right, you're good to go," for one team. But if you pull out a red flag, that's 3 ejections and you're out.
Is it kind of like soccer and hockey, probably,
like red
right?
cards and stuff?
Yeah, red cards, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, awesome. So you like doing the water polo. So your season ended. So are you still doing it in the off season, or is it like you done
All
right now?
season, I'm like some players. I'm just resting and working out. I'm surprisingly, I'm not doing any water polo workouts.
Oh, but I thought
I'm
that you're
actually
going to
doing-
join club water polo.
I am, but right now I'm doing some football workouts just for fun.
Oh, fun. And then are you going to do any other sports at your high school this year?
No, just swim.
Ooh, what kind of swimming?
50 free.
Wow. You are so long and tall that I think you're going to be an excellent freestyle swimmer.
Mm-hmm. Everybody also called me. They also called me a couple names. They called me Speedy Gonzalez because I'm fast and Mexican.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
there you
it's
go.
true.
There you go.
And they also call me Money Man because of the joke of my dad. But the season went good. There were some good things. I met some couple new friends. I met a friend that's actually was in the middle of training to be a Marine.
Whoa, that's amazing. And are they going to be like one that has to do water stuff? So that's why they did water polo?
He has to do 2 years of water polo.
Oh,
Yeah. He has to do 2 years of water polo. Then after those 2 years, he could go and get training with full guns and stuff.
oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Zeke, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So since you've been in water polo, you haven't been able to come down to the new house, and you are coming down for the first time this coming weekend to
Mhm.
your new bedroom, the new home. What are you most looking forward to about our new house?
On nights that we don't have anything, me, Jacob, and Mason are going to be coaching our new basketball team on the Xbox that we all
Oh.
drafted,
So
Oh.
fun.
and also opening up baseball packs.
Oh, yeah, because you love baseball cards. Well, we are so excited that you're going to be coming down here this weekend. Kris even set up the basketball hoop for you. And,
Oh, and I got a brand new net too.
Yeah, he got a new net.
What was
and-
funny is that yesterday I got a brand new basketball, an NBA regulation basketball, and guess what? I lost it over the fence yesterday. I just bought
You
it.
need me to go climb over it and get it
Well,
for
the neighbor has been nice enough to toss it back over, but they haven't tossed it over yet. so-
We're gonna have to go knock on their door, but there's the basketball hoop that's set up, and then we have the outdoor hot tub that you guys can hang out in, and
you? Yeah,
we're
I'm gonna
just
bring
really
my
exci-
jammers.
yeah, we're just really excited for you to come home with us and to get all cozy in your new bedroom, and we've missed you so much.
Yeah, and little teaser, the Gym Boy show might be coming back.
Ooh,
how
hot
exciting. I
tease.
can't wait.
Yeah, and we might have a special guest.
Ooh, that's exciting. Well, folks, stay tuned. We know that you've been missing out on the Gem Boys show, and Zeke, thanks so much for stopping by the studio today.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love hearing his voice. That just makes me so happy.
I know. Zeke, you got to come in. That was done via clean feed on the iPhone. iPhone, you can do clean feed also. So.
Yeah, it sounded really good on the audio. I know it was kind of like a quick thing. He FaceTimed us, and then he was like, don't forget to talk about my water polo. And then what did you say?
I said, we'll just call in. We'll just talk
Yeah.
all about it right now. You can talk about it.
That was so fun. And I love including our kids in our podcast. And, as we were talking right before Zeke came on about building our life together, one of the things that I've been super proud about for us is how we've been just really trying to focus on like our long-term planning, trying to be financially stable and independent and, not relying on credit and all of that kind of stuff. And, we've been working really hard. You've been getting not out of debt because you didn't really have debt, but you've been paying off some pretty significant stuff lately, huh?
I know. I paid the car. The Z's been just paid that off. I just paid off all of my credit cards. I don't think I owe anything. The only thing I owe on is my new truck,
Yeah.
which is an extremely low interest rate.
Yeah.
In fact, it doesn't really have one. So
how does it feel to have that financial flexibility?
it feels amazing. So you see your paycheck and you realize it's not all going to be like, it's got to go to this bill or to that bill or to this payment or that payment. You just kind of see it and then you're like, what do I want to use this for?
Yeah. Having that kind of financial flexibility is something that is really important to a lot of people. And we have a guest that's going to be coming on the show today who's going to be talking a bit about his own journey from, financial chaos to financial freedom. And he's a fantastic, very, energetic. What's the word that we would call him? Motivational.
Yes, motivational. He's a motivational speaker also. So that could be part of it.
Definitely. And we are going to hear from him right after this.
Hey, thank you so much for being a loyal listener of the Kris and Kristine Show. And as that you are a loyal listener, we have a very fun opportunity for you to get involved with the show.
Ooh, tell me more.
If you like to get exclusive content you can't get anywhere else and to receive free merchandise shipped to you every single month,
Ooh, I want that.
then head over to patreon.com/The Kris and Kristine Show. That is patreon.com/The Kris and Kristine Show.
And welcome back, everybody. We are super excited to have today's guest with you. He is an author and a personal development rock star. Welcome to the show, Robert Riopel.
Oh man, I am so ready to have fun with you too because I've been looking forward to this. So thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, we're so excited. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. So how can I be of assistance? Let's have some fun.
Well, hey, Robert, first off, thank you so much for making the trek all the way out here today.
Now, where in the world are you joining us from today? Because I heard a little bit of an accent when you said show.
Well, yeah, see, because I'm Canadian, I think you have the accent, but I am from
What?
Central Alberta in Canada.
And is that where you're located right now?
It is.
Wow. So this is an international interview. That's amazing. We love it when we have people from all over the world joining us. So first of all, how did you find us?
Through a great program called Podmatch, I've been loving where being able to find shows by hosts that are looking for guests, and I'm a guest, so Podmatch has set me up and been having a lot of fun with it.
Is it kind of like dating, I would say? Like,
It's like Match.com
Like Match.com,
podcast
maybe it
edition.
is? Yeah. eHarmony?
Something like that. But I don't know about that stuff because I've never had to worry about it.
Oh.
I don't know about this swipe left, swipe right stuff. That's all foreign to me.
Oh, wow. So do you have a partner currently?
Yeah, my wife and I very blessed that we just celebrated 32 years of marriage in June, and she is the love of my life. Met at 13, started dating at 16, and got married at 19.
Wait a second. Married what time? Married when?
Yeah, we were 19, but actually I had turned 20 12 days before our wedding, so I am the older guy, just so you know.
But you met at 13. How did you meet?
We did. We're in Canada. We have something called the Cadet Organization, where just like the younger version of the Navy or the Army or the Air Force, and we were both in cadets together. And my wife actually, she noticed me. I knew her, but I didn't notice her, if that makes sense. And for 2 years, she tried to get my attention. But like most guys, I'm only going to speak for me, I was very clueless, especially as a young man.
Really?
I didn't.
I know. Yeah, we're all like that. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't know she was interested in me. And then one day she finally had enough. We were playing touch football while we were doing some volunteer work on a weekend. And she saw me flirting with another girl, and she's like, you know what? That's enough. She goes, I'm going to tackle his ass to the ground. He's going to notice me one way or the other. And so I'm going for a touchdown. And all of a sudden I get tackled from behind. I'm upset. I'm like, who in the heck tackled me? This is touch football. Until I turned around and saw it was a girl, and instantly I was smitten. I was like, I think in my mind, it was like, if this girl can tackle me, she's got to be amazing. A bit of an ego back then, especially.
So it's like love at first fight?
Pretty much. Oh, yeah.
But hey, Robert, you weren't embarrassed by a girl tackling you, though, in front of your guys? You're like, oh, you know what? She got me on my bad day or something, or trying to shake it off like it was no big deal.
Yeah, it was like I was just starry-eyed, and my mouth must have dropped open, and like seeing her for the first time, I think is the best way to explain it. And the next day, when we were back volunteering, I got up the courage to ask her to be my girlfriend, and she said yes. And ever since then, we've been together.
Oh my gosh, I love this story so much.
I know. Is this a Hallmark movie or what?
I know. It totally is. It's like the storyline. Except if it was a Hallmark movie, you guys would have to be like separated for like, if you went to the military, separated for years overseas and then reunited.
You write letters.
Yes.
And then you sign it off with some cute little message at the bottom of every saying.
Definitely. Like, until the next tackle.
So I guess it won't be Hallmark because we've always worked together. And it's just, except for the last few years with me starting to travel more around the world. My wife used to travel with me almost all the time. But then as I started going worldwide instead of just more North America, she started not doing as many trips with me.
Got it. Now, Kris and I don't know if you know this, we are newlyweds-ish. We're coming up on our first anniversary here in just a couple of weeks.
Oh,
and
congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. And I would, Kris always likes to point out that I made the first move.
Yep.
So it sounds like your wife and I are very similar. But what is your advice to us as newlyweds about how to stay strong and keep the marriage together, especially as we are business partners in the podcast? We'd love your advice.
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, Kris, to you, two most important words in a relationship that I found are yes, dear.
Oh, I always thought it was I'm sorry.
Yeah, but in more serious, I'm going to go to a Facebook post that I saw that really resonated so much, and it was a grandmother and a granddaughter sitting on the front porch of their house, and they're rocking, and the granddaughter asked the grandmother, said, "Grandma, how's it you and Grandpa have stayed together for so long?" And the grandmother responds, she said, "Dear, when we grew up, if something was broke, you fixed it."
Good
and
point.
There's so many, unfortunately, it's just my belief that too many people walk away too quickly, because I'm going to tell you, a great relationship has its ups, it has its downs, it has its great days, it has its, drag out, knock down fights. And it's whether you decide to quit or, find that common ground and come back together. That's the kind of key, is the way I look at it.
Yeah, that's a really excellent point. And, it's something that we're seeing more and more marriages break apart, especially amidst COVID, things that, maybe you didn't realize how fragile the relationships were. So many people are splitting up. And that's one thing that, Kris and I in this first year, your first year is always a little bit difficult, but, I think that that's one thing that we have in common is we're fighters, not against each other, but fighters.
Sometimes.
But fighters for the relationship. Like we're willing to put in the hard work. And I think that work ethic has a big piece to play in a successful marriage.
Well, yeah, in some relationships, if you think about it, they just don't know how to handle being together all the time. So when COVID hit, all of a sudden people went from having almost like their separate lives at work or with friends and that and seeing each other at night to all of a sudden being together 24/7, especially during the first lockdown. And for me and my wife, that was bliss because here it is, I'm now home. And, even though I would take 6 months a year off, even with all the traveling I was doing, I still was away from home for 2-3 weeks at a time overseas doing trainings.
Wow.
And so being able to, when we came back together because of COVID, one of the biggest blessings was moving to the next phase of our life where we had a dream of building a training center on our property so I could spend even more time at home. And that's now a reality.
Oh, awesome. So let's talk a little bit about that, about your actual, when you said you're traveling overseas and you had your business. So can we talk a little bit about that? When did that start and what is that about?
Yeah. Well, growing up, told and taught. And here in Alberta, we have oil. And when oil prices are well, our economy booms. But when oil prices are down, it's a tough economy. And so growing up, I was taught no matter what the job is, you do it. Even if you hate it, you support your family. You stick with it. And I'm working and 3 different companies lay me off. And I start delivering pizzas for Domino's Pizza because it's the only job I could find. And I didn't consider it a real job. It was like, I'll do this until I find that real job.
There's a pizza guy right now listening to this and he's saying, like, how dare you say that?
Well, but I'll tell you, the first thing that happened is because at 21, I was the old guy working as a delivery driver because all the other guys were 17, 18. And so because I was wanting to make an income, I could always convince one of them to let me do their closing shift and I'd switch off, which got me then, because of my work ethic, into being a manager, at which point, out of necessity, we move to another city and I go up early while my wife is finding, helping pack up our basement suite and she'd come up on the weekends and try to find a place to live. And then I'm working and I'm learning how to be a manager because my franchisee literally, when he said, yeah, you'll be my manager, I said, well, we've got 2 weeks before I leave. Can you let me train more in the store? I've only been driving. He goes, nah, you'll have plenty of time to learn when you get there. Yeah, trial by fire. And so my wife came up one weekend and my assistant manager, now picture this, he's been working for the store since he was 14. He's now almost 18. And when I went in and I took over as manager, he actually literally walked up to me and said, look, just so you know, in the 3.5 years I've been here, I've gone through 42 managers and assistant managers.
That's crazy.
So, yeah,
that's
he's like,
more than one a month.
Yeah, he's like, you're not going to be here long, so I'm not going to listen to what you have to say.
What?
Oh,
And so he was undermining every chance he had. And I made a lot of mistakes. Like, you have to order your food in advance to be able to know how to have enough to not run out. And here we are in the middle of a Friday supper rush and I'm running out of food and we're making 100 or more pizzas an hour. And I'm frantically trying to phone other stores whenever I have a breath, trying to find food to go get. And my wife is there. And I said, honey, I got to go pick up food. You kind of help out wherever you can. And she's like, absolutely. So I leave and I'm picking up food. Well, I get back and my wife goes, we need to talk. I'm like, what's the matter? She goes, once it slows down, we need to go to the back office. We need to talk. And I'm like, okay.
That's never a good idea. When your wife tells you need to talk, it's not it's not a good thing.
Yeah, well, and so she goes, here's what happened the moment you left. She said, Mark is now telling everybody what an idiot this guy is. He can't even order food. And I'm like, pardon me? She goes, yeah, right in front of me. He's just bad-mouthing you. She says, you need to fire him. And jokingly, I said, and who's going to be my assistant manager? You? And she looked at me, she goes, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. Yeah, another reason, Kristine, why I love my wife so much. She's not afraid to step up to a challenge. And so we called him back and I said, Mark, here's what's happening. I can't put up with this. So you're getting your 2 weeks notice. And he's like, you can't do that. And I said, call the franchisee. He did. And the franchisee said he did. So goodbye. And, my wife became my assistant manager. And from there, things got better because we know each other.
Yeah.
Right. And now, being that you worked did you work right underneath you then?
Yeah, I was the manager and she was the assistant manager.
Okay. So
or one of them, because we had a couple assistant managers so that we could actually have a day off every once in a while together.
But did you find that kind of like a lot of like being that you were a couple, you guys were together and trying to be a boss and boss to her? And was there any friction with that?
Oh, absolutely. But we found our rhythm because she was great at scheduling. I sucked at that. And, at night she would stay and do the in-store work and I would take over as the last delivery driver, and so that, she'd be making the pizzas. I'd be delivering them. I'd be answering phones when I'm in, I help them make pizzas. And so we found our flow and we found a way of making it work. And, man, from the moment we started managing, to the end of our Domino's journey, it was like 11 years. And we found a way to make it work.
So did you stay as managers that entire time for 11 years? That seems like a pretty long time to stay in that role. Or did you have any other opportunities?
Yeah, a year and a half in, we're now qualified to be a franchisee. I don't know how much you guys know about Domino's, but you can't just buy a store.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You can't just walk in there and say, I got a briefcase full of money and drop it on the front door?
Nope, you can't. Not when I was a franchisee. The way Domino's grew so big is Tom Monahan, the founder. You actually had to successfully manage a store for at least a year, meeting a lot of criteria. And then once you met the criteria, then you had the right to be a franchisee and they would waive the upfront franchise fee and to make it easier. And that's why 95% of the franchisees were actually started as drivers, just like I had in Domino's Pizza. Yeah, because you had to earn your way up. And then not having a big upfront franchise fee, it was still about, anywhere from $100,000 to $250,000 to buy or build a store. But at least you didn't have to have like a $200,000, franchise fee right up
right.
front.
Yeah. As a driver, where would you have that? I mean, I was a pizza driver myself back in the day, and I didn't make that much money in tips. So I don't know.
Well, and that's it. And so we were qualified, but I was making $400 a week. And she was making $300 a week. So even back then, that wasn't a lot of money.
And what year are we talking?
1996.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Actually,
it helps give context.
Sorry.
Okay.
Well, I was a pizza driver.
What am I saying?
Yeah, back then too.
I even went a little too far. Actually, 91 is when we took over as managers. 91.
Okay.
And so it was 93, 94 that we had the chance to buy the stores. And my wife's like, instead of looking for another job, because my franchisee wanted to sell the 2 stores he owned. And she's like, we need to buy the stores. And I'm like, well, we can't afford it. And she said, well, let's find a way. And one of the things I look back, hindsight being 2020, is some of the greatest lessons I've ever learned has been from the mistakes that we've made. Because we started making a lot of mistakes, finding out how do you borrow money if you don't have money and if you're not making a lot. And in fact, like as an example, we went to a guy who's like, I promise, I've got investors. I can find you an investor that will pay, give you the loan for the stores, and my fees are $1,000 up front. The moment we paid them, all of a sudden it's like, sorry, no one wants to, lend you the money.
Oh yeah, and take the money and run, huh?
Yeah, but looking back though, in the 4 months, every time something went wrong, we looked at what worked, what didn't work, and we'd make an adjustment. And by the time it was 4 months, we were now able to talk to our bank, because here in Canada back then, you couldn't just go to a branch bank business manager. You had to know someone who knew someone who knew someone. And so we couldn't get to our branch business manager, but we had a great relationship with the actual branch manager herself. And one day we're sitting down and we're 23. We're in her office and she asks us how it's going with buying the stores, and we're defeated. It's not going well.
Right.
And she goes, have you talked to Grant? And we're like, no, we can't see him.
Who's
can't
Grant?
get an appointment.
He's
the business manager. And she says, oh, come with me. And Kris and Kristine, I'll tell you, one of the things for business, make sure you keep great relationships with your banks.
Yes.
Don't just be the client that they only hear from you if you have a problem.
That's me, I think I call it. What happened here?
Yeah. Well, because literally the moment we said we couldn't get an appointment, she said, come with me. She stood up. She actually took us by the hands, walked us across the branch to his office, knocked on his door and said, Grant, this is Robert and Roxanne Riopel. They're amazing, hardworking kids that are trying to buy a Domino's pizza. Take care of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You don't get that very often.
No, you don't. And because we had made so many mistakes, now that we had a chance to talk to him, we knew exactly what not to say and what to say.
Oh, yeah.
And so had we seen him 4 months earlier, we would have messed it up.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. But because we now knew what to say, we ended up, the bank gave us 100% financing. We were originally going for one store, but my franchisee had 2 for sale, and they gave us 100% financing for both the stores.
No way.
Yeah.
2 for the price of 1?
Well, no, it wasn't for the price of 1. It was 2 for the price of 2, but we still got 100% financing.
Yeah, I
for
mean,
both.
that's the thing. When we recently bought this house here, the first thing you want to go to is go to the bank and say, hey, bank, can you give us the money? Are we qualified for this? And then you start to like you get approved, and then you start shopping for houses. So you basically got approved for the loans for 2 of these things. That's something to celebrate about.
Yeah, and that's kind of, looking back, that's what we've always done, is we actually, when we bought our first house, we bought it without a down payment, and we had 3 months to come up with a down payment. So while we were managing a store 7 days a week, 6 nights a week, as soon as we'd close, we'd go to the local newspaper called the Calgary Sun at the time, and we'd load up 1,400 newspapers from 1 o'clock in the morning, and we'd deliver them to all the drop boxes till 8 o'clock in the morning, go home and get a couple hours sleep, and then go back to the store and do it all again. And in 3 months, we raised our down payment. So we've always kind of done things backwards.
Well, if you can pull it off, because some people also try going to do things backwards, and it doesn't seem to work out for them.
Yeah, but that's
Very
if
true.
they sometimes people will go backwards, but then also put shortcuts into it. And it sounds like
Yes.
the 2 of you sometimes do things backwards, but a theme that I'm hearing is that you're willing to put the work in.
And that's exactly it, Kristine. That is like right on the button, because, and here's the thing, now that I travel around the world training people around mindset and success, the biggest thing I want people to understand is that success is not easy. It's simple. There's ways to get success, but you've got to put the work in. And too many people, they just expect it. There's an entitlement attitude.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it should be handed to me, given to me. No, you got to work.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
hear that, millennials? We're talking to you.
Actually, millennials tend to be pretty hard workers. I'm just
But what's
saying.
one below that? The Gen Z
I'm
or Gen
not
Y
sure.
or Gen something?
I don't know. There's something else.
Yeah.
But so now I want to go back a little bit to, if this was like a Marvel movie, your origin story. So you talked a little bit about, getting into dominoes, but let's go even further back to that, because work ethic tends to be something that's modeled for you or something that you get the opposite of when you're growing up. So what were
That's
your
very true.
models when you were growing up? Did you have work ethic modeled to you?
Yeah, both my mom and my dad, when we were kids, we never stayed in any one place because to support the family, they were always having to move us from town to town, place to place, just to keep working and taking jobs that they hated, but that's what they did to support the family. So I learned from them that, and one of the lessons my mom taught me, doesn't matter what's going on in your life, the moment you walk through the door of work, you leave everything, all your problems at the door. You be there to do the job you were there hired to do.
Exactly.
And so that's, I modeled
Why are you
that.
pointing at me, Kristine?
I wasn't pointing at anybody. I'm just saying exactly. It's the way I was raised too.
Yeah. And then my wife, youngest of 5 children raised by a single mother, and basically taught you don't rely on anybody, especially a man. And so she learned to be very, very independent. And if there's something she wanted to go for, she went for it, because the only way she could ever get something is if she actually put in the effort and the work to figure out a way to get it, because there's no way her mom could afford it. And so both of our families, very poor families, but that's the thing, able to get by. And when money was tight, we could make it work. And if extra money came in, her mom was very thrifty and still really counted and pinched pennies. Whereas my parents, anytime extra money came in, we splurged. And I took that programming on. So when we started making some money in our Domino's pizzas, that keeping up with the Joneses, like, oh, look, we have extra money. We need an extra car.
Oh,
We
yeah.
have a store in a lake vacation area. We need a boat. and we started
Yeah.
buying all the toys.
I hear you. Yeah. Yeah, go on.
Is that something,
Yep.
Kris, is he preaching to the choir right now?
Oh, yes. Amen on that one. Yes.
Previous life, not current reality. But go ahead,
A little
Robert.
bit.
Well, and that was the thing, though. It's because we did that. That's why at the time we were franchisees for 8 years, we're now making pretty good money. But because we're spending so much more, we're over $150,000 in personal debt, stressed out beyond belief, and going down quickly because we're not handling our money well. But we have all the toys. But the funny thing is, like the boat, we had a boat, but we couldn't use it because our busy season was boating season. So we're in the store. It's looking pretty in the driveway. And that,
Right.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you know what a boat stands for, right?
Yeah, break out another 1,000.
There you go.
Yeah, that's someone just taught me that a couple months ago, and I'm like, that was it. That's exactly it.
That's what I hear. Wow.
Well, so you had that work ethic, but your spending habits weren't aligning with that. So it's like you worked really hard for the money, and it's that work hard, play harder mentality versus
Yes.
work hard, save hard, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
So
That's exactly it.
have you broken out of that habit? And if so, what helped you?
Yeah, well, we were frustrated with Domino's. We were going down in debt and we weren't enjoying it anymore. And our kind of mindset was, well, what else would we do? And it's like, well, we know franchises. Why don't we go and buy another franchise? But of course, we couldn't afford it because now we're even further in debt. But because we went to a franchise expo, 2 weeks after the expo, someone sent us a letter in the mail. And for the millennials, that's something that comes in an envelope into a mailbox, right? Not into your computer. Yep.
Wow. So it's not like an email. That's
No,
like,
it's
it's
not.
like
No.
older than that. Whoa.
Yeah, we actually had to open an envelope and pull a piece of paper.
What?
Yeah. And this amazing couple, we had visited their booth and they said, thank you for visiting our booth. And as a gift, here's 2 tickets to a 3-hour evening that will change your life. And each ticket was worth $39. And thank goodness they were, because the only reason we showed up is because our minds would not let us waste $39 tickets.
I hear you. No, I hear you. Yeah. It was
And that-
$10. I've been there. Yeah, for sure.
and we walked in, and by the end of the evening, we're running to the back and we're paying $600 to go to a 3-day weekend expanded version of it. And that was in March of 2001. And in June of 2001 is when the 3-day training was. And the only reason we showed up there was to get our money back, because we went through buyer's remorse afterwards. And we're like, we can't afford $600. We need to get our money back. And they, I was ready for a fight. I was ready for them to say, you can't have it. And they knew what was going on in our heads. And they said, look, just come in for the first part. We'll figure out how to get you a refund. And then we'll touch base with you at the break. And by the time they came to find us at the break, and they're like, hey, let's talk about your refund. And we're like, no, what do you mean our refund? We're having too much fun. Get out of here.
No way.
And that 3 days changed our life, because we learned why we were in debt. But more importantly, we learned to take ownership of our debt and quit blaming other people, because we were good at that. Oh, they lost our investment, or because of them, I did this and I lost the money. And the moment we started taking ownership is when our life changed. We left the 3 days with a whole new mindset and a set of actions we were going to take. And next thing, just by putting it into practice, we were able to go from being over $150,000 in debt to actually retired, completely financially free 9 months later at the age of 32.
That is amazing. And the point you were saying about a lot of people will blame other people for their own mistakes. And you come across a lot of that with your teachings. A lot of people will kind of say like, well, it wasn't my fault I got fired. It was XYZ or whatever it could be, or so-and-so, they're rich because the thing I always say is like, they're rich because they've got rich parents.
Yep.
That's the thing because I was also on the other side of it, where I would see other people that had a lot of money and toys and things, and I'd be very jealous and very kind of
Used to be?
okay, a little envious, I would say, and I would say, well, they're like who they are because they've got a rich parents or whatever, or an inheritance, just things like that. They didn't actually earn it. Do you come across that a lot in your travels?
I do. And Kris, you and I must be related in some way, because that's kind of describes how I used to really look at it. And yes, we see that a lot. And so I teach people about, you can identify someone who's in a victim role, because that's the people that end up either blaming others that they're not where they should be because of, or they justify, hey, they were in a rich family, or they do nothing but complain. And if your audience gets one thing out of this conversation, is that complaining is the absolute worst thing you could do for your health and your wealth. Absolute worst.
Say it again, Kristine, to give me the stink eye over there.
I am. I'm asking him to listen very hard to this.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah. Complaining is the absolute worst thing you can do for your health and your wealth. I'm a big believer in law of attraction. And when you're complaining, you're actually attracting crap into your life, because what you focus on expands. So if you're complaining, you're going to just get more crap.
Exactly.
And you become like a big magnet.
Thank you. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Preaching to the choir right now, Robert.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
No, but I believe in that so much. And so, how did that come into play when you talked about, I think that we need to give a little bit more airspace to this whole got out of debt and retired within a 9-month period of time. Like, what did that actually look like for you and your wife? Because I know that it didn't just all of a sudden happen and magically you wished it to be out of debt and it happened.
Yeah, I had my Harry Potter wand and went ding. No.
Where did you get one of those, by the way? Does Amazon have that?
Yeah, probably. No, we had to make some hard decisions. One of the things that we learned was that our expenses, and this is kind of, if you look at what the definition of financial freedom is when you have your expenses, you have enough what's called passive income. In other words, money or business working that you don't have to work at, it's working for you. When you have enough passive income that it covers your expenses, your monthly expenses, now you're financially free because even if you don't work, you have enough money coming in to cover those expenses. And the main reason we were way out of whack is we had never heard of passive income, so we had none. And because we were trying to keep up with the Joneses, we had a ton of expenses. So the first thing that we did, and my teacher and our mentor said to us, he said, if you want to create wealth, you've got to look at simplifying your life. And so the first thing Roxanne and I did is we sat down, we said, okay, what don't we need right now that's costing us monthly to own it? And it's nice to have, but we don't need it. And of course, the boat was the first thing that was an easy answer.
Oh, not the boat, not the USS Captain Sail.
Sink us down the river. Sail us down the river. Well, and here's the thing, Kris, think about this, is today, because of the financial position I'm in, because we made the tough decisions then, today my wife and I could buy any boat pretty much we want. But for how much we actually use one, it's actually cheaper for us to go rent the boat we need in the moment.
That's funny you say
the
that.
Style boat.
Yeah, it's funny because we went traveling over this summer, went to Bass Lake up here, and we rented one of those big
pontoon boats.
Right,
Pontoon boat, yeah.
And for the price to rent that was literally, obviously a lot cheaper than buying one. But if we bought a boat, even with a smaller boat, say like a smaller, ski boat or something, we need a place to store it. We need a trailer to haul it. We need a bigger vehicle to haul it and put any insurance on it and everything else too, just to use it once a year.
But what's funny is we came home from that trip and Kris was like, that's so much fun. We should get a boat. And my response to him was, no, we might enjoy it once every other year and we can go and we can rent a different kind every time.
And a brand new one.
Yes.
So you're not having to worry about I've now got a boat that's 8 years old. I've used 5 times.
Exactly. And he was like, oh, okay.
That makes sense because I used to be in the same boat. I used to go to the desert a lot out here. We have ATVs. You guys probably have snowmobiles. But
hello. I've got an ATV in my garage right beside me. Love back road ATV.
Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah. So I had a few of those. I go out the desert all the time, and I owned a few of them. But I guess you can rent them out there too. I didn't think about that. But I used to always have them.
It's about taking a look at what you want versus what you need. And so as an example, when my wife and I bought this property that we own now, my wife negotiated in the ATV with it because it is also our snowplow in the winter. And we have a 200-foot by 60-foot wide, in some places, driveway. So I'm not going to go out and hand shovel that. So a quad is, I'm not going to rent one every time I want to clear snow. I live in Canada. Hello, we get a lot of snow. So that pays for itself by owning it. But the boat, we very seldom ever use a boat, even though we love boating. We just don't have the time. So why own a boat?
Right. Unless you're going to use it all, unless you live like on an island, like why else do you need a boat, really?
Yeah, I have a friend who lives in Florida and he fishes all the time. So it makes sense for him to own his boat.
Right. So you had to make some of those hard decisions about simplifying your life. But beyond the boat, what other types of things did you have to pare down in? Like, did you find yourself selling everything off? Because I think that's a common misconception is that people are like, if you have to get out of debt that fast, did you become homeless to do it?
No. One of the things that we did is we actually had 2 vehicles, but we were always working together. So we're like, well, let's sell one of the vehicles and get rid of the expenses. And so we did take kind of an extreme hard look at it and probably did more than most people would. But we knew we didn't want the stress anymore.
Yeah,
and we were willing to, willing to make that journey, and it paid off for us. And so that's, it was simple things like, well, yeah. And again, it's that want versus need. Well, I really want this. Yeah, but do we need it?
Right.
And nowadays, because and here's what I want your kind of audience to understand too. When you look at the equation I just gave you, it's when your passive income is greater than your expenses. People think when I say I went financially free at the age of 32, they're like, how did you get out of debt and become a millionaire? I'm like, I didn't. I had enough passive income because we started learning about that as well, where I didn't have to work. I still had debt, but we had enough money coming in to pay for it. And what that gave us is it gave us time freedom, because all of a sudden we went from working 60, 70, 80 hours a week each, earning a living, to having that extra 60, 70, 80 hours a week to do other things. And I don't know about you, Kris and Kristine, but if I was a magic genie, I am aerodynamic, so I do have that look. And if I was to sit there and go, hey, I'm going to give you an extra 30 hours a week to do whatever you want with, can you think of things that you could use that time for?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I definitely can.
Other than podcasting, Kris.
Excuse me. But I totally would, because I used to work a lot. I'm a truck driver that delivers gasoline locally here in town. And I used to work overtime 5-6 days a week, 10, 12 hour a shift every single night working. And I cut that back. Since I married Kristine, I realized, what am I doing working all these extra hours for when I'd rather be home with her? So I cut back a day. Now I'm only working 4 days a week. And I love it, 'cause I love having the time off. And I was asking a guy, because I'm now a trainer. So I was training a new employee that came from a really bad schedule at another company. Actually, he still has a really bad schedule at our company, but he has to work his way up the ranks. But the point is this. I asked him, I said, well, have a scenario. If you could make $5 more an hour, but have like $5 more an hour, but have like a really bad schedule. Like really, think of the worst schedule there is: holidays, weekends, nights, the worst of the worst. Or $5 less an hour, but have the best schedule you could possibly think of. Which one would you pick? And surprisingly, he chose the worst schedule with the more money. But I don't know if that's the way people think these days.
A lot do, because they think that more money is going to fix their life. And that's what I've really come to realize. And, money is a tool, and it'll actually just make you more of the person you already are. So if you're already a workaholic, more money is going to make you want to work harder and more. And so it's about, how do you find that balance in your life? And we learned this because when we freed up all this time, we made a commitment, going back to law of attraction, Kristine, of we're going to take 10 of those hours we just freed up, 10 hours a week, and we're going to focus on creating wealth. And all of a sudden, the moment we focused on creating wealth and had the time and energy to do it because we weren't stressed out, all of a sudden, the wealth creation became so easy in our life. And so what I love to teach people is this: don't try and go to become a millionaire first. Get yourself financially free first to free up the time and energy to now go for wealth if that's what you want, because at least you have the time. But most people, their answer is have a second job, third job, and wonder why they get burnt out and why they just seem to go backwards or get into bad habits, because now they need something to supplement that they're working so hard. And that's where addictions really come in as well. So it's how do you create a bit more of a balance in your life? And so that's what I love to teach people. And that's why I do that around the world now.
That's awesome. So when you were talking about passive income, what did that end up looking like for you and your wife?
Well, originally, we learned about two things on the internet that haven't been around for years that had a kind of a residual income and a stock portion to it. And so we ended up finding two passive incomes online that got us financially free. And we didn't know back then how to make them permanent, so they didn't last long, but they lasted long enough for us to get more passive incomes. And today I have businesses that are systemized that work. We own or are part owners, and we get a income from them. I love being the bank for real estate. So I love second mortgages, where instead of someone going to the bank and saying, hey, I want to borrow money, a second mortgage is when they have some equity in the house and they want to maybe do an addition or pay off some bills. That's where I get to become the bank, because you get paid a higher interest rate.
Oh, yeah.
And it's always secured by the property still. Because if they do foreclose, the bank will usually come to the second mortgage and say, do you want it first? And we always make sure there's a strong enough position, that it won't happen, because we do our due diligence to make sure we're there to support the people to do well. We don't want to ever take advantage of people. So my goal is to never have to take a property over, and just make it a win-win-win situation where they get the money they need, I'm getting a good interest rate, and my money's working hard for me. And the bank's happy because they're not worried either. So there's a number of different passive incomes that I do today.
That's awesome. Now, I was at one point in multi-level marketing, and
what?
Yeah, with a skincare company.
Oh, one. Okay.
But I think that one of the big things that you've hit on is like you have to find some joy in the work, because I found that I was engaged in a residual income structure just for that goal of trying to make more money versus actually doing something that I was passionate about. And so how was it that you landed on something that you actually loved, or did you figure out how to love it along the way?
A little bit of both, and a lot of trial and error, plain and simple. Today, I'm a big believer, because there's two types of businesses I love, especially for someone new in business. One is franchises, and the other one is network marketing. And the reason is they both have systems. And if you learn the system, follow the system, in a Domino's Pizza, when we sold our last store, the average store cost $250,000 to buy or build. And every store you had, you were basically buying yourself another $60,000 a year job until you got up to at least 5 stores. That's kind of where the sweet spot was. But with network marketing, for a few hundred, if you treat it like $1 million business, a few hundred or a couple $1,000 investment, you can actually use the system and do very, very well. But the number one rule for me is, and this is why network marketing gets such a bad name, is people go for it for the money. Look at all the money I'm going to make, but
Right.
they don't believe in the product. And so I will never, ever, ever do any kind of product as a trainer or in any business. I will never sell a product I do not believe in 100%, because that'll come across and the audience will get it. Who you're talking to will get it. It'll be like, yeah, something's wrong here. They say
Right.
they like this product, but they'll sense it. And I've done over now as a trainer, as an example, I've done over $100 million in sales from the stage around the world. And because I believe in the programs. Why? They're the programs that changed my life. And so I have 100% conviction behind them of, I know what these will do for you. And so even if you have doubt, that's when I love my students come up and they go, you know what? I didn't really want to do it, but you convinced me, and man, am I so glad I did this course. Here's how it changed my life.
Right.
And that gives me such a great sense of joy.
Oh, it is. I mean, of course, the cash is always fun too. But I'm saying, like, the joy of helping other people it does go a long way. I know.
Yeah, well, and there's a universal principle that says this, Kris. It says you will be paid in direct proportion to the value you give. And so when you're out to give value and really help people, you will be rewarded financially in ways you can never dream of. But most people, because they're trying to just make the money, they're forgetting to give the value first.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. And what's really interesting is after that experience with the network marketing, multi-level marketing, with the product, that it was good, but it wasn't something I was super passionate about. I finished my doctorate in May, and then Kris encouraged me to find what brings me joy, because there was
Yes.
a lot of pressure in my full-time industry to seek a promotion that would require a lot more time and energy with not as much compensation.
Yeah, who
for-
really wants that? You know what I'm saying?
But I mean, it
Yeah.
was, more responsibility, and definitely it's a calling, the type of work that I do in education. But I felt this pressure to pursue this additional promotion. And Kris was like, well, why don't you just you don't have to go for that. You make plenty of money. We're paying all of our bills. We're very comfortable. Find something that's fun to you. And so I did start my own business just several months ago, and it makes a huge difference when you're passionate about it and you're passionate about the services that you're offering, how that spreads like wildfire. And,
It does.
it's something, it was unanticipated. I started it with, I am a wedding and event planner and floral designer on the side. And so I started off with 1 or 2 weddings, but then people love you. They love your work.
Mhm.
And then they spread word through social media. And before you know it, you're in this very healthy business that's now thriving. And it makes a huge difference when you commit that work ethic and that passion with a product that you're really proud of.
Oh,
Yeah. And that's one of the favorite things I love to teach around people around the world is how, because people go, well, Robert, I'm good at this. When I meet people, I'll say, I'll ask them, what do you do for a living? And they'll tell me. And then my second question is usually, do you enjoy it?
Right.
And it's amazing how many people say no. So then my third question is, well, then why do you do it? And the 2 most common answers I get are, I'm good at it, or I make a lot of money.
Or
And let me be
both, I would
clear.
think. I think both of
Yeah,
those,
yeah. And those are the wrong reasons to do it. Those are the wrong reasons, because now if you're working at something you hate, you're waking up every morning dreading the day. That's not living. And so when I help people find what their true passion is and how to really tap into it, and then learn how to make money doing what they love, that's when they start living. And here's a great equation that a mentor taught me a few years ago. He said, Robert, especially when people are in a job where that maybe they're not liking it at the moment, sometimes you do what you need to do to get by. Just don't make it that temporary means to an end up being permanent, right? And he said, here's the way I live life. He says, here's how I got success. He says, I live by the motto that from 9 to 5, so whatever your 9 to 5 job is today, because schedules are all over the place, From 9 to 5, I'm earning a living. But then from 5 to 9, that's when I create my life. So Kristine, as an example, it's that in that 5 to 9, that's where you're now doing your wedding planning, your floral arranging, doing what you're passionate about. And you do this, and it takes ethic. It takes being able to sit there and go, I don't really feel like it, but I'm going to do it.
Exactly.
Because my life is worthwhile. Because all of a sudden you do this and you start part-time. And at the point where you're all of a sudden you're part-time, what you're loving doing, when it starts making enough money that it can replace your full-time wage and income, then you can make the permanent switch to really go full on doing what you love to do.
That's if I want to, because I do love my day job too. You know?
Oh,
I
absolutely.
do. So
you
it's
now
like
have choice.
now I have choice, or I just get to enjoy the fact that my life is filled with work that I really enjoy and I feel adds value to the world, because I didn't have to pursue that other big promotion because my husband, my partner, was encouraging me to find something that also brings me joy. But now it's like my life is filled with work that I find fulfilling.
And I wanted to have Kristine home more around the house. That was the truth, because if she took the other job, she'd be gone a lot. It wasn't one job you're going to take, like another country or something like that.
I was offered a job in another country, but we would have all had to move, and that was a no-go.
But I love having her here at the house more.
Yeah, but Robert, one of the things I wanted to float back to something that you said, because I think that it would hit home with a lot of our listeners. So if they find themselves in a job that they're good at and they make good money at, but they're not in love with, how do they get past that fear to actually think about doing something different? Because there's a certain amount of comfort that comes with financial stability. And there's this difference between financial stability and financial freedom. And so for that person that finds themselves financially stable but completely unfulfilled, how do you coach them through that?
Yeah. Well, one of the biggest things is it comes to fear or overwhelm. And the reason those both come up is because a person, say they're where they are in their job and they're going, but I'd like to have the life, Kris is looking at all the other people, the good stuff that they have, and he's going, I want that too. And the moment they compare themselves to someone else, or I want something greater, their mind goes from being in the present to 30,000 steps ahead of themselves. And they're like, now all of a sudden it's the what if scenarios start coming in. But what if this happens? What if I go for it and it doesn't work? What if we lose everything? What if we go bankrupt? What if, it doesn't work out in the amount of time? And all of a sudden that overwhelm and that fear comes in and it becomes very debilitating. So what I recommend to people is take a deep breath in, come back to being present. And a quote I love, it says, one step in the right direction is worth 1,000 years of thinking about it.
Ooh, look at that.
And
that's good.
So
say that one more time for us, Robert.
Yeah. One step in the right direction is worth 1,000 years of thinking about it. So what you do is you take that deep breath, you come back to present, because that's the only place that fear does not exist, is in the present moment. And you say, okay, if that's where I want to go, what's one step I could take right now? And then take that step. And then you celebrate that success. In my book, that's why step number 4 is celebrate. Because they'll take a step and then they beat themselves up, even though they did something good and they went in the direction they want. So you celebrate your success, and then you take a deep breath, check in with yourself. What's one more step? And then that's why success does come one step at a time. Because if you keep present and you just take one more step, you don't feel the overwhelm of trying to figure it all out. Because what's going to happen is it's when you're in the game that you start to see what plays you need to make. But if you're trying to figure out every move of the game before you even threw the first ball out, you're not going to win. You're going to just
So you're trying to think of what the scoreboard's going to look like at the end of the game, but you're at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, think football. Do you think an NFL team comes onto the field with every single play already planned out for the whole game?
No, they got the playbook for that, right?
Yeah, they have one or two to start off with. Now, depending on where the ball is, who's got the ball, what the other team's doing, that's when they make the adjustments. That's the same with life.
Right.
So how do you help somebody switch that thinking, though? So it's easy to tell them, be present, stay grounded, take a breath. But for the permanent catastrophizer that's commonly living in the world of the Chicken Little, the sky is falling, how do you help them just stop that thinking? And because it's a learned pattern and sometimes it's a really hard cycle to break.
And it's ingrained. This is how personal development changed my life. I do a lot of introspecting now, and I used to be one of the biggest doubting Mustafas out there. It's like, if something that wasn't in my realm of knowledge is like, no, it can't be real, that's not right. And so like, why not? Well, I don't know, it just isn't. And so the first thing is being willing to be vulnerable enough to say, I want to learn something new. And then the people you surround yourself with. I used to say, it's amazing to surround yourself with like-minded people. But look, even last year, in the midst of COVID, one of my mentors taught me a paradigm shifting, he did a whole paradigm shift for me. He said, Robert, if you're in a group of complainers and you're like-minded, you're going to be a complainer. He says, you don't want to surround yourself with like-minded people. You want to surround yourself with growth-minded people.
Yep.
Right,
And the difference is a growth-minded person, when you fall, when you're having a hard time, they're going to be there to pick you up, brush you off, give you that pat on the back. When you're doing well, they're going to be your greatest cheerleaders, saying, good job, keep going. But the most important role that they're going to have is they're going to be the ones that are willing to have those tough conversations with you. Like maybe you need a kick in the ass because you're playing a small game or you're being a jerk. And they're the ones willing to stand up and say, hey, you're being a jerk right now. You need to make an adjustment. You're not, the people are hating you because of the way you're acting. It's not them, it's you. So those are the people you have to be willing to have in your life. You don't just want hey, you're always great. No, you want the people that are willing to tell you like it is.
Right. No more yes people in your circle, your crew.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, and that's really hard because sometimes having the yes people around is like a comfort or a security blanket.
It totally is. Yeah.
And it leads to the ego. Absolutely. I will be the first to admit, I would not be talking to the two of you today if it wasn't for my wife. Because left to my own devices, I would be in a job comfortable but miserable because that's where I would be. And she's not willing to let me play a smaller game than I'm capable of. So especially when it comes to kicking me in the ass. She's had to do that plenty of times to say, look, you're greater than this. Why are you, not showing your greatness? Because I was taught to be shy, to not, it's bragging if you try to say what you're good at. And that I was taught to hold my self-esteem down. And she's like, no, we need to hold it up for the world to see. But what if I make a mistake? Then we correct and you do it again.
Exactly.
And that's a gift we give each other now.
That's a beautiful gift to give.
I love that gift. Can I get that on Valentine's Day?
I'll send you a pair of size 12 boots for him, Kristine, that you get to wear to give him on Valentine's Day.
Now, you've talked a lot, Robert, about your experiences with helping others, but for our listeners, especially as we've come through a really hard couple of years as, I was going to say as a nation, but I mean, internationally, living through COVID and so many people facing setbacks, I feel like personal development is something that so many people are seeking out right now as they're figuring out the what's next in their life. So where can our listeners find out more about you and your services? And do you have a podcast or anything?
Yeah. Well, my assistant tells me I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram. And so you can definitely find me online. I do understand that stuff a little bit. I got my Facebook going, but she's now, thank goodness there's people to help me. She's got me going on LinkedIn and Instagram. And if you put my name in, you'll be able to find me. But, what I would love to do, because the two of you were so gracious to have me on your podcast. In 2017, I released my first book called Success Left a Clue. And it's my quirkiness in a book. And what I would love to do is, because your listeners took their valuable time to be here and listen, and I believe your time is one of the greatest commodities you have, as a gift from us to your listeners, if they just simply go to robertriopel.com, my name, that's it, just RobertRiopel.com, they're actually going to be able to download the entire digital version of my book as our gift to them for taking the time to listen.
I love that.
I will tell you there's a caveat with it, though.
Okay.
There is a caveat. I did not write the book for someone to read it, put it on the shelf, and make it shelf help. That's not why I wrote it. Good, you got my joke.
Yeah,
Kristine.
shelf
Thank you
help.
so
I
much.
like that.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, I'm pointing to my shelf behind me.
But you don't get it? Shelf help versus self-help.
Oh, I get it now. Yeah.
So step number 3 in the book is you have to take action, because it's 6 steps on how to create a life of your dreams. And step number 3 is take action. So I wrote the book as a workbook, meaning there's action steps all the way through. And I'll actually say in the book, Did you do the last action? If not, stop reading right now. Go back, complete that action first before you read any more. Because I know people are creatures of habit. And I'm going to say this. If they go and they download the book and they read it and they do the action steps, they will see that they're able to design a life of that they are floored and they'll be like, wow, I can do this. Yes, you can. I'm living proof. There's a reason I wrote the book, because I made a lot of mistakes.
Well, that's amazing to be able to give people the gift of learning from your mistakes instead of just keeping them to yourselves. That's powerful, because I know that whenever I'm looking at how to make changes in my own life, I could always fail forward on my own. But if there's somebody that can help me sidestep a couple of mistakes and help expedite my journey, then I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes a big, big difference.
Absolutely. And so, listeners, thank you so much for tuning in with us today to listen to Robert's fantastic story. Remember to visit him at robertriopel.com, RobertRiopel.com.
And we'll put a link to it in the show notes.
Absolutely. And get your copy of his book and then connect with him and all of the great things that are happening. And hopefully we're going to hear some great news soon about you launching some trainings at your new facility, right?
Well, because in Alberta, we're in our fourth wave of medical emergency lockdown crisis.
Wow.
I'm not going to be able to have live people here. So one of the things I'm doing is I'm adjusting, and I'm actually, this next month, I'm turning it into a super Zoom room, because I do trainings all over the world from my office now, where I can have, so I'll have like multiple screens,
That's
multiple
awesome.
cameras, where I can see 400, 500 students at a time on my screens and really have fun and interact with them. So I'm looking forward to that.
Wait, I think maybe a hologram version of you coming up next.
Well, that might just scare too many people, Kris.
Well, I'm trying. Thinking outside the box, literally.
Well, Robert, thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to hearing about more fantastic things that are happening in your world.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey there, K2 crew. We love having you as our loyal listeners.
To keep up to date with what's happening behind the scenes, check us out on social media.
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter.
And don't forget to follow our Facebook page.
Yeah, tag us in your favorite fun stories, and guess what? You might just end up on the show.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. Robert was so awesome to come on the show today. You know, he flew all the way down here, and we put him up here in the K2 studios. Did you believe that?
You're such a goofball. No, but it was a fantastic interview, and I loved reflecting on his words and, his concept of financial freedom. And I thought it was totally different. I thought it was like you had to be able to, have a full-time job, and then like, I don't know what I thought financial freedom was. I think it was like have everything paid off and zero debt and all of that stuff to be considered financially free. But I see what he's saying, that it's something different. So I think technically you're financially free, right?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know, maybe. I mean, I think it is too, is that, like I was saying earlier, is that, I don't have to work all this extra time, be a slave to the dollar, where you're working 60, 70 hours a week. Because I used to do that. I used to have to work like 60 or 70 hours every week just to pay the bills and just to stay at even keel, not to even have anything extra. That's just take care of everything.
Right. But you're in a different place now.
Exactly.
We both are.
Right. We both are. And together we realize that having time together is more important than having all this extra money to pay for debt. Because if you're just working, you're just going around what we call the rat race. We're just going around in a circle.
A hamster wheel.
Yeah. You just keep going around and around, just working and paying.
Yeah. It's so exhausting. And I'm thankful that we've been able to, for the most part, get off the hamster wheel. And I think that a lot of that has to do with sound financial decisions, but also me having my side business helps bring in an additional stream of income that we didn't have before. And that's very exciting.
It's all very, very exciting. And speaking of exciting things, I know I mentioned earlier that we do have our new Patreon account, Patreon page. And so one of the levels that you can subscribe to is the second tier level. We're going to do exclusive content. And one of the exclusive content things that I had just thought of just today, just now.
Oh, okay.
Is the brand new Netflix and Chill with Kris and Kristine.
Oh my gosh, that sounds really inappropriate.
Where is your mind going?
No, it's what people call Netflix and Chill. Like when you say you can subscribe and it's Netflix and Chill, it makes them think of it's like what is it called? OnlyFans page?
Well, it's kind of is.
No, it's not. We are G-rated.
So the way Netflix,
PG.
the way Netflix and Chill is going to work is that we are going to watch a show or movie or something show on Netflix, and we are going to play it and riff on the audio.
Oh.
We're going to record our audio riffing on the show, and when you get a copy of it, you're going to be able to play it and play Netflix at the same time, and you'll be able to hear us ranting on the show, and you can watch Netflix at the same time we're watching Netflix in a way.
So it's like a live critique / slapstick comedy kind of show, yeah?
Right.
But all audio, or are we doing video too?
No, it's going to be audio
okay,
only.
thank you, because I don't like to cute on podcast days.
Okay, of course. You look great, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
So what we're going to do is you subscribe to patreon.com/the Kris and Kristine Show. You subscribe over there under the exclusive content. We're going to email you a private track that only you're going to have of audio. And when we tell you on the track, we'll say push play at a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
You push play on the audio and watch Netflix. You push play on the Netflix while you have the audio going. And then we'll be all synced up together so that you'll hear us.
So it'll feel like we're watching TV together.
Exactly.
That's so fun.
Netflix and Chill with Kris and Kristine.
So if you're missing us or missing our voices between our regularly scheduled podcast, you can subscribe to Patreon and you'll get some of this exclusive content. And I think that we're going to have some exclusive stories and videos coming in the future too, right?
Absolutely. This new MacBook Pro I just bought, it's powered by the great M1 chip.
Oh gosh. The M1 chip. It sounds like the Wizard of Oz.
It is. It pretty much is. So the M1 chip is this new special processor that Apple came up with that powers new Mac and new iMac and all that fun stuff. And it's very powerful for video editing and audio editing and all that fancy stuff. So it's going to be making movies and videos and things a breeze, so I can make special videos and clips for our Patreon subscribers.
Gosh, I am so glad that you bought yourself this new computer, because I was really tired of listening to you complain about the old one. It was like every single day I was like, this one, it's a dinosaur, I hate it. And I'm like, buy a new one. But I'm so attached to it.
I was very attached to it.
It's like the old house. You were like so attached to it.
Well, one leak was too many leaks as far as I'm concerned. After the 5th or 7th leak, I'm like,
no,
we got to go.
Joking,
we got to go.
Just joking.
This link's more. It had more leaks than Titanic.
No, it was not that bad. But, we appreciate you all listening today. Thank you for tuning in with us. And anything else you want to say, Kris?
Well, thank you, Robert, for showing up on the show today. That was great, too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sticking with us. And we will see you all back here next week.